Rick. How are you?
Good, Gracie. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm great. It's good to see you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, first off, congratulations. I hear you have a new group.
We do. We started our new key executive group just a couple of weeks ago. We launched. It's exciting.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Amazing. So,
yeah.
I was curious, what is special and different about the key executive group versus your chief executive or your trusted advisor groups? And could you maybe walk me through what it would be like to be a member in that key group?
Absolutely, absolutely. And let me just say a few words up front as to why I started the key group. So I
Please.
currently have two chief executive groups, and they're nearly full, 15, 16 members in each of my groups. And a number of my CEOs had said, "Hey, Rick, this has been a great program for me. I've learned a lot. I really have gotten to know other peer CEOs from different industries. If it's good for me, I think it would be helpful for some of my people."
Mm,
And so I opened it up and I said, well, what is the interest? And we've launched with 8 people 2 weeks ago. Um, 6 of them are with my CEOs, and 2 are with other CEOs outside of my groups. So it's really exciting. And I'd like to share with you the introductory slide deck if I could.
Oh, please.
Okay, great. So we met on January 16 was our launch date. And I started by talking a little bit about our team. And myself and Don Cepeda, our retired chair, who is working with me to assist with the chief executive groups and eventually with the key executive group. Yourself leading our business development,
Oh,
marketing,
hey.
all things electronic. Thank God for Gracie. So you know how important you are to all of this whole team of ours.
Thanks,
So
Rick.
thank you. And Gina has joined our team back last fall, and she's working with Gracie. And Christina is the newest member of our team. She's our virtual assistant. She lives out in San Diego and coordinates calendars and schedules and meetings and so forth. So it's a great little team.
And national.
Absolutely, national team, coast to coast.
Exactly.
So this is what a typical agenda looks like. We start usually at 8 o'clock. We started a bit early this day because we had 6 inches of snow, so it was actually a Zoom call. So we started at 8:30 instead of 8. But at 8 o'clock, we call it meet, greet, and eat. And
Okay.
so it's time for breakfast and chatting with one another. 8 o'clock, we start sharp, go over the agenda, introductions for any new people, and we check in, both personal as well as business check in. And that's a really important part of our meetings.
Hmm.
People like to hear from one another, what's going on. And it's a great way for everyone to get their voice in the room from the outset. The next thing we covered were the calendar and speaker preview, and you're going to see much of this in this slide deck. Group norms, Vistage resources. After lunch, we had a speaker. This time we had Mike Foster speaking to us about how critical it is to get on board with AI. I loved his opening quote. He said, you can choose to embrace AI or compete with it. And so it was an
Oh.
eye-opener for all of us as to what is in store. I think we're just scratching the surface, as well as cybersecurity and a critical issue. We then go into issue processing, where a member presents to the group, how do I handle this particular situation? And the key to that is we keep one another out of going to solutions, and we explore the issues. So it's questions about depth and breadth around the issue that was presented. And then we look at it from various perspectives. I see this how do I is articulated differently. And then we get to solutions. People will give recommendations. Logistics, and we close with, so what was your key takeaway today? What value did you receive from today's meeting? So that's a typical agenda, and that was our launch agenda. So why do CEOs look to develop their direct reports or C-suite? Oftentimes we're dealing with the need for successor. Should something happen to them, or I'm thinking about selling the company someday and I need to start very purposefully grooming the people who are going to replace me.
Mm,
Some business owners want to continue to own their business, but they want to step away and let someone else be running the business.
yeah.
Oftentimes we have someone who is just promoted into being a direct report to the CEO.
Mm,
So much of what we discuss, which is much more at a strategic level than an operational level, is new for that person. If they're coming up out of a functional area, out of sales, out of operations, all of a sudden in the C-suite, you need to be able to think along with your CEO about the strategic direction of the company. And the really hard part, it's the C-suite that needs to take the direction of the company and interpret that for the people that report to them. So it's really the translation zone from strategic perspective growth that the CEO really owns to the rest of the organization.
mm,
So that's much of why our executives want their C-suite developed. Growth is core to who we are. Grounded toward growth
right.
is our brand. It
Absolutely.
starts with business growth. So all of our members, it starts with how do I grow my business? And what we've learned is there's really three elements to growth: business growth, which is going to require organization growth, which includes the C-suite. So as a business owner and CEO, I want to grow the business. I need to have higher, more capable people reporting to me so that I can be delegating to them. They can be running the business, and I can be looking for what's next for our business. So what we call it is, how do I spend less time as a CEO? How do I spend less time working on in the business in order to spend more time working on the business? Well, that requires a group of direct reports who can do both of those things,
Mm,
help them think about working on the business and then deliver on working in the business. And then the last one, I heard from a number of my people, hey, this has been a really powerful experience for me, and I want my members to share it. And there's a lot of similarity between what we're doing with this chief executive group and the key executive group. So in my case, they're getting all the same speakers.
mm,
We have 7 speakers a year. They're all hearing the same speakers, introducing them to the executive fellows that we bring in each year. So it's an exponential growth when we can have multiple layers of people participating in Vistage. So what do they get out of it? They become a more effective leader. So leadership optimization, better at making decisions, a confidential peer group that they can say, I'm struggling with this. My boss is this way. What do I
mm.
do? Well, we can talk about that here. It's a confidential conversation. It's not
Nice.
inside the room. We talked about succession planning, trusted guidance and expertise. So it's diverse thinking. We have no competitors in the room. This is non-competing groups. And then professional development is executive presence. Direct reports to the CEO become critical in interfacing with customers, potential clients. And building their confidence, breadth of perspective, and accountability. Let's see, next slide. So the key executive program is one of 4 core programs for Vistage. And you can see here on the right-hand side, the chief executive program is for business owners, CEOs, presidents, and it is really focused on how do I spend less time focusing in the business so that I can focus on the business. The C-suite is for that next level down. And what's exciting is we've got members who are both functional heads. So we have a CIO, we have a CFO, we have a chief client officer, We have a chief business development officer, and a chief operations officer, a couple of people who are VPs of operations. But we also have P&L owners. So we have some members to this day. We have several people who are general managers. They own a business. They own a P&L. And in one case, my Vistage CEO is really the CEO of a holding company. So he's chosen to move towards a holding company, and two of his three subsidiary CEOs, general managers, are in the group. So it gives you both that GM perspective, P&L perspective, as well as functional area perspective. The next program in Vistage is Advancing Leader Program. I do not have one, not yet.
Yet, that's right.
But that is for the people, director and VP level, to prepare them for the C-suite.
Mm.
And then the Emerging Leader Program, typically we think of that as for new managers or new supervisors, but increasingly the Emerging Leader Program is for any level. And what we have found, if you've worked in a Fortune 100 or a Fortune 500 company, you've been through the management training program. So you kind of got management 101.
Mm.
If your time has been working in a small business, oftentimes they don't have those internal programs. And this was seen as a huge need across the Vistage members. And so Vistage responded to that with Management 101. And we actually, some of my colleagues in the Washington, Baltimore area who have emerging leader programs, they have CEOs in that group. And some of my CEOs, frankly, would really benefit by participating in the Emerging Leader Program while still being a part of the Chief Executive Program, because you're getting the core 12 modules of management and leadership. So it's a really nice curriculum, and the key executive group is that interface between the CEO and the rest of the organization. So what are the focus areas? And I've touched on these already. It's strategic thinking. All of a sudden, I'm being asked by my boss to not only deliver and execute on the operation or the functional area, but I'm asked to be a partner, a strategic partner, a thought partner with the boss. That's what we expect, and that's what we'll be working through as part of the key group. Communications, executive presence, leadership, and then collaboration. So we all know the old school top-down autocratic style doesn't work. It might be necessary in an emergency, but shy of that, what we're looking for is, how can I be collaborative? How can I engage people? We used to say people tend to support what they help create. So how do I help people create the work we're doing and the methodologies and processes we have in our business? At the same time, as an executive and leader, you need to be very clear. Here's our purpose, mission, and vision. Here's our strategy. Here's my expectations. And so you need to still be decisive, but you can do that in a way that is engaging with other people in the organization. So that's our approach in this program.
Nice.
We have 7 speakers a year that attend the key executive group. So as I had mentioned earlier, I hosted the first meeting, and Mike Foster was our speaker. It's typically a 2.5, sometimes 3 hour, but really 2 to 2.5 hour presentation. These are engaging workshops. In February, we have David Friedman coming to talk about how we build and leverage our culture for competitive advantage. And you can see we've got Klein coming in around what she calls the reset formula. Lori will be talking.
Lori.
Yeah, Lori. You know Lori.
Yeah, we have a whole other interview with Lori. Love her.
Lori's coming back.
That's great.
And the first presentation from Lori was around what when do I and how do I sell my business or prepare
Right.
for business trends? This time we're looking at the personal side.
Mm.
So oftentimes it's one thing to be thinking about, yeah, it's time to sell my business. And then, like I like to say to my folks, well, what are you going to do now? And
Yeah.
oftentimes they have not thought about it. So,
No.
and now, so that's what, one, four. So we'll have another three speakers, and each month one of the members host. So in February, Anwar, it will be our host, and we'll be meeting in Rockville
Nice.
at his location.
And those speakers are also
These
speaking to your chief executive group. So the CEOs and the C-suite can have a conversation about the same speaker, a similar workshop. That's such a wonderful opportunity.
Oh, thank you. Great reminder. Yes. And we're doing that in a very purposeful way. So oftentimes our CEOs would say, I come back, they all know I'm coming back from Vistage with some new wonderful bright idea that I want to
Right.
implement. And they sit down with their direct reports and they talk all about it in an enthusiastic way, and they just get a bunch of stares.
Yeah.
And so now you have an ally. So
Mm.
now you've got someone else around the table, or in some cases, more than one person around the table,
Yeah.
who also heard that speaker. Who you can have a dialogue with your CEO about whether you thought that was any good or not, and
Yeah.
do we need that? Do we need to
Sure.
implement some of this thinking? So it's a very strategic reason for having the same speaker, and I do them all in a row. So it's 3 meetings in a row.
Yeah, I love that.
We ask new members when they come in the room to what we call a talk a person. So it's to really go through and talk about such things as their background, their strengths, their flat spots, what I care deeply about. So
Mm.
we want to know, really what grounds you, what upsets you, um, when and where do you get angry, where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? Some folks haven't thought about that, and that question stumps them.
Aw.
Um, Career history, if they've not already covered that, and then what keeps my feet on the ground, family, interests, hobbies, fun aspects of life. So it's a great way to get to know each other. The roles. So the members role, number one, and my dad used to always say this: 80% of every job is showing up.
Mm.
So that very much holds for our key group and our chief executive group. Be there, be prepared, don't have calls, don't have meetings, make it a sacred day, because you step out for 20 minutes, you've lost much of the momentum.
Right.
So we encourage all of our members to show up, be prepared, contribute, speak up, um, and this is something that's unique to the key advancing leader and emerging leader programs, is a sponsor. And in the case of the key executive group, that sponsors your CEO. And so we ask now it could be another member in the C-suite. Someone may ask uh, their colleague to be their sponsor, but oftentimes, usually it's a CEO. So we talk about how to engage with them around your growth and development. What does your boss see as your opportunity? You want to know that. And
Mm.
so oftentimes I'll have a joint conversation with my key member and the CEO. We have what we call triads and quads, where people come together outside of the monthly meeting, um, in order to build peer relationships, but also to be accountability groups and be responsible for your own development. So to be clear about, this is what I need. My job is to facilitate and run and support and inspire our members. Norms. Listening is key. The old slogan, we've got one mouth and two ears for a reason.
Mm.
It is important to listen. And we practice active listening, where we ask people to repeat back what they heard, because oftentimes they didn't hear it all, or they didn't or they thought they heard it and they really didn't. So
Right.
actively listen is a great practice. Um, and in order to listen, you got to be present and you need to be open. So being accepting and open of another person's viewpoint, and you may vehemently disagree. Um, we don't, we don't put on the agenda politics and religion and all the typical barbershop things you want to avoid, but they come up and the implications come up. And sometimes the world is in a difficult place and people need to talk about it. So we want to give the space to people to be able to say what they need to say, and others will respectfully listen, even though they may disagree. So that's a lot of what we're doing. And guess what? Those are real important things to take back to your operations, to your
Yeah.
business. We ask people to be curious, ask questions. In the issue processing, the first phase is to stay out of solutions and let's give depth and breadth to the issue by asking lots of insightful questions. And what oftentimes our people would say, that I don't know what I don't know box became smaller because people ask questions they never thought to ask.
Hmm.
We want to be empathetic and show empathy towards our colleagues, which will lead to trust. So when people know that others are listening to them and may disagree with them, but they can say what they need to say, that's how we build trust. And a core part of result of a trusting group in a safe space is that people will be vulnerable. And it's when we get to the vulnerability, it's when we get to someone saying, I need to do X, but it's just personally very difficult for me to do that. How do I work through my personal feelings about this issue? And in order to deal with it. So that objectivity, and yet realizing we're human beings and we have an emotive side. My Vistage. So as a Vistage member, you're a part of a worldwide community. We have over 45,000 members in 35 countries. I was just at Chair World last week,
Yeah.
and it was amazing. We had chairs from over 20 countries there. I met people from Malaysia, from China, from Taiwan, from Australia, from Portugal, Spain, the UK. It was just exciting to meet people from around the world. And that comes together in the My Vistage website. You have access to all 45,000 members. The rule of thumb is someone in Vistage connects with you, you respond. And it's a great way to hear what's going on. You're looking to expand in your operations in China. Reach out to your fellow Vistage member or Vistage chair in China, and see if they can provide some introductions and insight as to what you're trying to do.
Wow.
So that's an exciting part of what we're doing. We have active networking groups with people putting questions out and others responding. Typically within 24 hours, the responses occur.
That's amazing.
It really is. And I've got a number of my members who have put really key questions out there, like I'm looking for alternative financing from institutional banks. What do you know in the area? And
Mm,
they've gotten responses, and they go and do it.
very
Um,
cool.
Lots of member-only webinars, insights. One example is ITR Economics. Vistage partners with ITR Economics. It's a great small economic group in Manchester, New Hampshire, whose track record is probably beats the big houses, and they provide regular insight on where is the economy, what's happening, what do we need to be preparing for. They saw the soft landing that we see in 2024. They see increasing growth in 2024, 2025, all the way through to 2030.
Oh,
Then it's So
oh
that's
no.
yeah, 2030. you better be prepared. So we'll see if they're right. But that's a way
Okay.
to play, and people have time to prepare for what they see as a major economic downturn. So I don't know how they predict out that far, but they do. And then we closed with assigning meeting hosts for the next few months. We talked about other CE or key members. This is their group. So who do you want to see in this group? And we actively engage with our members to say, take ownership for this group. No, don't count on me to fill it the way you want to fill it. You fill it the way you would like to fill this group out. So we have 8 members right now. We're looking to get this group full, 16, 18 members, just like the other groups. So we're actively discussing that. And then every year we do a retreat. My chief executives come together for the retreat. I'm looking to bring the key group for their own retreat, and so we started looking at what does a retreat look like. We usually invite spouses or significant others. Some bring brothers or sisters. Others bring business partners. Others come alone. But it's a great opportunity to spend a couple of nights away from the day to day, having cocktails and dinner, a speaker usually or an event. We like to get a meeting in there and have some fun too. So we
Yeah.
talk about that.
Love
So,
the retreat. That's definitely, yeah.
so, so Gracie, that was our introductory meeting. What reactions or questions do you have about our key group?
Sign me up, Rick.
Oh my God, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's wonderful. It seems like a really complimentary addition to your all the groups that you have. And I know that on the last retreat, some of them did bring their C-suite members,
That's right.
and those C-suite members were expressing how they wish that they had something like the Vistage group to really talk
Absolutely.
about issues. And my favorite part about issue processing is that you're not offering solutions, that
Right.
you're expanding the depth of the issue
Yeah.
before you
Yeah.
give advice.
Absolutely.
Um, so it sounds like a really wonderful opportunity, and I can't wait to see what other members jump in and take advantage of it.
Absolutely. So I look forward to hearing from folks that see this video and talking about what it's about.
Great. Thanks so much, Rick.